This is Marissa Rich. We're interviewing Holley Fryer. The date is January 22nd, 2008.
I'm Holley Fryer, live at 2590 Cecil Drive. The date is January 22nd, 2008.
Okay, Holley, let's start with a description of the origin of your name and how you're connected to the founder in Holladay.
My actual name is Lathael Holladay Fryer. My father's name was Lathael, and when I was a young boy, my parents didn't want to call me Lathael because that was my dad's name, so they called me Holladay. And that's spelled Holladay. When I got into school, and I'm guessing at this, I was probably about to the 3rd grade, and my dear friends, I had 2 very close friends. One was Elder M. Russell Ballard and Cal Clark, and we both all started kindergarten together and kept going. Anyway, one of them took the Holladay and just went Holly. So they started calling me Holley, and that's what I've gone all the rest of my life. Well, now, why was I named Holladay? Because my great-great-grandfather was John D. Holladay Sr. And my grandmother would talk about him. My father would talk about him, and so I feel quite impressed about my lineage back to that area.
Where were you born and raised, Holladay?
Born and raised in Salt Lake City, up on 6th Avenue between M and N Street. And I lived my dad and mom lived right next to my grandparents. My dad's mother was a daughter of John D. Holladay Jr. And of course then her grandfather would have been the one that settled Holladay.
So what brought you to this area, to Holladay?
My dear wife and I got married on the 14th of June in 1950, and we moved to Bountiful. My business was in Murray, Utah. We were in the tire business with Marna's brother, Alan Collister. And so I would drive from Bountiful to Murray every day and back home, and finally I got thinking, you know, I think there could be an easier way. So we looked for some property and we found this here on Cecil Drive, and we moved in this home the day we brought our oldest son home from the hospital. And he was born on the 2nd of November, 1955. So it would have been about, I'm guessing the 6th or something of November of 1955. So we've been here 53 years in November.
How has the neighborhood changed since you moved here?
Oh, it's unbelievable. The road that goes up Cecil Drive here ended at the end of our property. That was the end of it.
What was on the other side?
Farms. This whole area back here was a farm, except over there on Roland Drive. Now that was, they had some homes over there, but none of these homes here on Olympus Drive or anything were there. Now the Glade home, you know, George and Marie, was just, they started to build it when we moved in, and the contractor went into bankruptcy. And the house sat that way, and here I'm guessing, probably another year or 2. And finally, whatever, they got that worked out and they finished it, and then of course the Glades moved in. But it's changed dramatically.
Tell me about the ward when you first moved here. What was the what did it cover? What part of land?
Are you sitting down? The church that we went to was over on the street that goes down. I guess it's the Holladay Murray Road, off of Morningstar. Anyway, that's where we went to church. We were the Holladay 5th Ward. Our boundaries started at 2300 East and went clear to the mountain.
This is just the ward, not the stake.
This was the ward,
Huh?
not the stake. Yep. You see, when you got up past 27th, there were not too many homes there. There were a few, but not near what there is now.
What were the north-south boundaries? What was the north boundary?
Okay, the north boundary was 39th South, which it still is. Well, no, that's our state now.
That's our state.
But it was 39th South, and then it went straight on up, and 45th South. But that whole area was a Holladay 5th Ward. And we remained the Holladay 5th Ward for quite some time, until they changed the name of the stake. See, we were in the Holladay stake, and then we became Olympus stake, and then we became the Olympus 1st Ward.
Tell us about your participation in building the chapel that we presently have.
Oh, well, back in those days, the members would go and help build the chapel. So when time would permit, I'd go down there and do what I could in building the chapel. We had the same problem out in Bountiful when they were building the new chapel out there. We had to go help them build it. But that soon changed.
How did they raise money for that chapel?
Well, as I remember, we would donate money to help them build it.
You have quite a career in ski instruction and skiing yourself. Tell us something about your life in skiing.
Well, that's a long story. I started to ski when I was about 5 years old. Now, I told you that I lived up on 6th Avenue between M and N Street. Across the street from my grandparents' and parents' home, there was a little home that had a driveway that kind of went downhill. And so I would go over there when it would snow and put my skis on and ski down there, and if I got going too fast so I didn't hit the garage, I'd fall down. And that's how I started. And then from there, north of where we lived, was a little garden called Lindsay Garden. And it was kind of a little hill, it was downhill, and then beyond that were some steeper hills. And I'd go up there, and some of the fellows that lived in that area, we would build ski jumps, and we'd jump off those. So that was kind of my beginning of my ski jumping career. Then, here again, I didn't write this down, so I'm guessing at my age, I was about 12 when my father introduced me to the great world skier, Alf Engen. Now, I have to take a step back. Dad was one of two men that started the Utah Highway Patrol. And he would go up to Ecker Hill. Now, Ecker Hill is at Parley's Canyon. If you go to the summit and start down, and then when it levels out, if you go left, there's a big golf course there now. If you go right, and then go up south a little there, that's where Ecker Hill was. It was one of the largest, best ski jumping hills in the world. And they would have several big tournaments a year. And when they'd have a big tournament, my dad would go up and help his policemen park cars. My father got to know Alf Engen. And as I said, when I was about 12, he took me up there and introduced me to Alf Engen. And Alf was a Norwegian from Norway. What a wonderful man. And he embraced me, and then he helped me in my ski jumping career. And then it was in 1948 when they had the first ski school for the Deseret News at Alta. And Alf asked me to come up and help him teach in that school. So I did. Well, in 1950, Marna and I got married, and I was still skiing. And about 1979, I was up skiing with the kids one day at Alta, and we bumped into Alf, and he said in his Norwegian way, "Holley, why don't you come and teach in my ski school?" So my business was such, and I did, and so I started teaching on just part-time. Now, I wasn't full-time, just part-time, on Friday and Saturday until 2002, when I had to retire, when I had my left hip replaced. And I became very, very close to Alf Engen. And I, you know, unless you are a skier and know much about him, if you had a list of the greatest skiers that ever lived, his name would be at the top of that. In fact, I have a picture of Alf and myself skiing together one day. And he was just a very special man. I just need to tell you a little bit about this great guy. He and his family joined the church in Madonjellen, Norway. And Alf came over here as a young man, about 18, 19 years old, and spent, probably 3 or 4 years. Then his mom and dad, then his family came over. His dad died over in Norway. Then his mom and 2 brothers, Sverre and, oh dear, what was the other one's name? Anyway, the 2 brothers also became very great skiers. See, over in Norway, Alf would tell me that to go to school, they'd have to put their skis on and walk over to school and then come back that way. So they learned to ski when they were little guys. Anyway, I'd become very, very close with him, and I mentioned to you that when he died, the family asked me to conduct his funeral. And what an honor that was. But that's kind of my story on skiing. I still ski. I still try to, I keep saying to people, well, I'm learning how to ski.
You said you were up there just last Monday?
Last Friday.
Last Friday.
I go up at least once a week and sometimes more.
So you're able to ski, but you've given up teaching, is that correct?
Yes, I retired from teaching in 2002.
Speaking of teaching, tell us about your institute experience, teaching institute.
Well, when I came home from being a mission president in South Carolina, I had a very dear friend up there, and they asked me, well, why don't you come up and start teaching here at the Institute? So I thought, well, okay, that's a good idea. So I did. I started in the fall of 1996, and I taught Book of Mormon, Gospel Principles, and Missionary Prep. And then later, because they needed more help in missionary preparation, that's basically the last 5 or 6 years, that's all I did, was teach missionary prep. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed that. That was a special privilege to do that.
Mm-hmm. You said that you'd made notes about things to talk about. You want to refer to those?
Well, they ask about memories of childhood, and I got some interesting ones. I've already told you about skiing. In the summertime, I lived a block away. See, I told you on 6th Avenue and between M and N. On 7th Avenue, there was a tennis court, 2 tennis courts up there. So, as a young boy, I tried to learn how to play tennis. And in the summertime, you know, we had no TVs or anything in those days. So I'd take a bag of old tennis balls and I'd go up there and I'd start serving and just go over and pick them up and serve back, and no one would be there. It'd be hot, you know, 110 in the shade. And so I had a very good tennis career. I played #1 at high school, at East High School. Went to the university and was #1 there. And then when I got married, I loved my wife, but she couldn't play tennis that good. So I'd been playing golf a lot, so we started playing golf. And but I still played for a while. I haven't played for quite a while, but anyway, I had quite a career in tennis. And then my grandmother, whose line goes back to John D. Holladay, was a professor at the University of Utah. She knew the head man at the School of Music, who was the first violinist in the Utah Symphony. And so she bought me a very good violin, and I took violin lessons from this brother for about 8 years. So I played the violin. And then one of my fond memories as a young boy is a picture here. And I mentioned to you that my dad was 2 men that started the Utah Highway Patrol. One day, he drove home a police motorcycle. And I was so excited, it was just unbelievable. So I remember running out, and Dad put me on the motorcycle and drove me around the block, I can't remember, 3 or 4 times. When we came back, my mother had her camera, and so she took this picture. And so when my father died, and he died before my mother, many of the things that he had when he was an officer at the Highway Patrol, were given to me. His gun, his holsters, and his badge. He had #2 badge because he was one of the top men. I got to know a sergeant down at the office of where these men were of the Highway Patrol, and I gave him all of these things, and I gave him that picture. Then in 2002, it was when we had the Winter Olympics here, and it was just before the Olympics started. I got a phone call from this sergeant, and he said, Holley, are you interested in Olympic pins? I said, you know, really, no, I mean, I'm not. He says, well, I've got something you need to come and see. Can you come down to my office? I said, sure. So I drove down, and there he showed me another picture and the pins that the Highway Patrol had made for the Olympics that had me, and those were Olympic pins. And then they enlarged the picture here, so I remember that very fondly. as a young boy and then having these Olympic pins. This officer told me back in those days, when you buy them, I think they were like $10, $15, whatever. I never paid any attention because they gave them to me. And but about 4 or 5 years later, just before he retired, he said, Holley, do you realize what that pin's worth now? And I said, no. He said, between $300 and $500. So, if I go on welfare, I've got 2 or 3 pins I can sell.
Oh, that's a great story. That's a great story, Holley.
Well, I got one other weird story as a young boy. As I've indicated, we lived on 6th Avenue, and at the end of M Street, or N Street, was the Salt Lake City Cemetery. And the bus train would come and stop there, and they had their own things that they went down, and they had a thing at the top that they had to have electrical to keep the thing running. Well, when they'd get down there, the people that were operating it would go out and smoke, and they would throw cigarettes on the ground. And some of them were, you know, hadn't smoked very much, and finally one day, it was in the summertime, there was about 3 or 4 of us young men there, and I was probably 12, 13 years old. One of the fellows said, you know, why don't we go get some of those cigarettes and smoke them? So, okay, that's a good idea. So we went and picked our cigarettes up, and we went over in the cemetery. One of them had gone and got a match, and so I remember lighting the cigarette and puffing on it probably, 8 or 10 times. And all of a sudden, the gravestones just started changing position. I was so sick, I couldn't even walk. And so I laid down, and finally I got up, and that was the last time I even came close to having a cigarette.
That's a great lesson.
So anyway, I remember that because in my lifetime, that's really the only bad thing, I guess. I've never touched beer, alcohol of any description, ever. Not even having a drink of it. But I did smoke that cigarette a little bit.
That's a great story.
But that was the first and last time.
That's a great story.
Okay.
Are there any stories in your family that you know of about the settling of Holladay?
I really don't, because well, my grandmother, the professor, she talked about her father and moving to Santaquin and places like that, but they kind of moved away. I can tell you a story that my dad told me. I've never seen it written, but he told me this. Now, he was upset with his great-grandfather because he said that after they'd been here for a while, and then he went to fight in the war, the Spanish-American War, that he sold the ground for 1 and 2 cents an acre.
Oh.
And back in those days, the price was up a little more than that. and now, of course, it's gone clear out of the ceiling. But that's the only one that my dad told me that. But I cannot, it's not in any of the writings or anything that I've ever seen. He just told me that. So, I don't know.
Do you have any idea how long the Holladays did live here in Holladay?
I don't know.
Did your grandmother grow up here?
No, she grew up in Santaquin.
Ah,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Did the Holladays move here as a church calling?
This is what my grandmother told me. That they came, and I'm kind of guessing at this, it was either 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month at the most, right after Brigham Young came in 1847. And from there, Brigham Young told John to move out in this area. And that's when he came out here. That's what I've heard from my family. Now,
Have any idea how long they were here?
I don't know.
Were they called to move to Santa Cruz?
Now that I don't know. They moved there, but you know that I've read everything that we've got written, but I can't find any information on what you've asked.
Okay, good. So, Ann, do you want to ask anything?
Yeah, tell us about raising your family here in Holladay. Tell us about your children and their growing up.
Well, Marna and I started dating. Well, our first date was when we graduated from high school, from East High School. And we dated through college. When we graduated from college, we got married.
And how old were you then? What year were you born?
I was born in 1928, and we were married in 1950. And then we moved to Bountiful. Our first daughter was Mary. She now lives in Dallas, Texas. We had 7 children, 5 daughters and 2 sons. All of the daughters have married wonderful husbands. They've all been very successful in their businesses. We have 2 attorneys, a dentist, and Florrie's husband he has his own business and does extremely well. Our 2 sons have been very successful. Our oldest son, however, is unemployed. He's unemployed because he retired when he was 48. He was an investment banker for the Toronto-Dominion Bank of Canada, and he ran all of New Zealand and Argentina and all of the Far East. And one day when he was 48, he called me on the phone. He said, "Dad, the bank's making some changes and I'm going to retire and come home." So he did. The youngest son is a plastic surgeon. He does the most difficult plastic surgeries in the West. They ship people from all over to have things done that no one else will do. So we have 7 wonderful children, 31 great-grandchildren, and 12 great-great-grandchildren, and I think, 1 or 2 on the way. So we have a wonderful family. I have the sweet and most lovely wife that you'll ever imagine. So that's kind of about our family.
Can you tell us about your mission experience as a mission president?
Oh, that's probably one of the highlights of our life. I will never forget getting a phone call from my dear friend Elder Russell Ballard, from his secretary actually, stating that Elder Ballard wants to talk to me and my wife. So we went up to his office, and he walked in his office. He says, "Well, how are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm a little nervous, Russ. What in the world do you want to talk to me about?" He said, "Oh, don't worry about it." He said, "I just want to talk to you about being a mission president." Oh, okay. So he did, and then told us, he says, "Now you can't say anything, don't talk to anybody. You'll be getting a call from one of the first presidency." About 6 weeks later, President Hinckley's secretary called. We had an appointment to go in, and there he gave us the call, and then we were able to share that with our family. But serving as a mission president had to be one of our highlights. My dear wife has always said the highlight of her life was raising our 7 children. and I have to agree with her there. The second one is serving as a mission president. I don't think many people realize what mission presidents go through. I remember being in a meeting twice a year. We'd have in our area, all the mission presidents would come. We'd have a meeting, and a general authority would, an apostle would come. And I remember one mission president said something, "Well, boy, this job is 24/7." And another one says, "No, it's not 24/7. It's 25/8." Meaning, then he said, it just never ends. And I can remember getting a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. "President, we can't find Elder so-and-so and so-and-so. We don't know where they're at. They're not home." Oh, okay. So you get up and away you go. I mean, it just goes on and on. But the time isn't long enough to tell you the wonderful experiences we had. It was just unbelievable. And the missionaries that we became very close to, they're just wonderful young men and women, and we're so grateful for that opportunity. And it was a real privilege. I guess one of the things that I have to say that was a privilege for us was the fact that we didn't have any children. Now, the mission president that we replaced had 2 or 3 daughters that were there, and they had to go to school, and so the mom had to be there to help them with their schooling, but we didn't have that problem. So my wife could be with me all the time, wherever I went, and she would. And, well, we had a special, and I don't know if I should tell you this, but we got to know one of the greatest portrait artists in the world. He was a member of the church in Columbia, South Carolina, and we got to know him. And I mentioned to him, I said, "You know, I've got a grandson that is a pretty good little artist." He was at that time about 12, 13 years old. And he said, "Well, get some of his work and let me look at it." So I called our daughter, Paula, and told her about it, and she sent me some pictures, and I took them to Ted. His name was Ted Gorka. He was from Poland. And Ted looked at it in about 10 seconds. He said, "President, you have this young man come to my home next summer, and he can stay at my home for 1 month, and I will help him with his painting."
My goodness.
So that happened. And then the next summer he came again. And then finally Ted died a month after we left, and his wife sent many things to Brian. And of course that young man is he's a marvelous artist today. He's just unbelievable.
What
But
a wonderful story.
that was an experience. And the experience of Ted, how he joined the church is, and I don't know if you want to hear that.
I don't, what do you say? Should we move on?
Yes, why don't we move on, probably,
Okay.
yeah.
Some of the last questions that were, that I asked were, what are the most important lessons you've learned, or do you have words of wisdom, or what are you proudest in your life, or how would you like to be remembered? Would you like to address any of those?
Well, some of the most important lessons that I've learned, I think would be, you need to be honest, you need to be kind, and you need to be forgiving. None of us are perfect, but one thing we can do is be honest. And I think the most important thing that I've learned in my life is you live and keep the Lord's commandments. Period. That includes the laws of the land and everything. And when you do that, you live a better life.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, tell us about this picture then.
Well, it was hung in my grandmother's home for many years. She knew the fellow that painted it. She knew him because of her deal with the University of Utah, being a teacher up there, and that's about all I know.
And
But
you
it's a
said
wonderful picture.
you knew the artist's name?
It's on there.
Haywood, J.T. Is it Harwood or Haywood?
Harwood.
Harwood, yeah.
They are really a style, aren't they? A particular style.
I have been told that those things are worth a lot of money.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Is the artist's name on the back? Do you know?
Now that I don't know.
I wondered if you'd gotten a little sun that day.
Now the boy, this is Rick, the plastic
and
surgeon. He taught up at Alda too.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so he and I both had come back and had that picture taken. This is the oldest one, right there. That's Mary, then Flory, then Steve. That's the one that's retired, and then Paula, right here, then Ruth, then Sarah, and then Rick.
Is Steve living in Utah or where?
Park City.
Oh, Park City.
He bought one of those small homes up there.
I'll bet it's a small one.
No, it isn't one of those large.
Well,
Oh.
if,